Good evening and welcome to The Real Study with your hosts, MrSniDBitS.
So like two teams with that movie, it seems like either people love it or they hate it. Okay, I do too. I do too.
BlackGirlMarvel.
I cried laughing. That was hilarious.
Tylermakesfilms.
It's meant for us to kind of contemplate. Like, I don't think his response to me is completely appropriate. Like, it makes sense that he would react that way.
Allthemoviethings.
I think the thing why I enjoyed it more too was the fact that we were going to talk about it from this perspective.
The pre-review with Biggie.
The pre-review is where I tell you about upcoming movies coming to movie theaters and beyond.
And me, the Real Study movie voice guy.
I probably would have been in love with this movie as well if I had watched it earlier, like when it came out, or maybe right after.
Let's go to the poster wall.
Good evening and welcome to The Real Study. My name is MrSniDBitS, and as always, with me to my left is BlackGirlMarvel, who is, as always, trying to pantomime me, which is amazing, and she does a great job. She always distracts me, but I manage it anyway, so here we are. Tonight, no, all the movie things. He is out for the evening, not feeling well. Wish him the best. But we also have Tylermakesfilms, and we will be discussing 3 films this evening. First, we're going to have BlackGirlMarvel, while doing her makeup, she's going to multitask and tell you all about social media.
I will. Hey, everybody, I'm BlackGirlMarvel. It would be a joy if you decided to just love us and follow us on all social media. That is Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Oh, and also Facebook. I don't know how much we use Facebook, but I know we use the other 3 quite a lot. And if you dig in our podcast, you know we also have a non-video audio podcast on all of the podcast places like Spotify, Apple, Google. It's probably on Anchor, Podcast Republic. It's everywhere. We're global. You feel me? Well, United States global, but we're working on it. And if you would like, we have listeners in other countries for sure. Nice. But if you would like to join in on the Real Study Fund, we do have a Discord as well. All of this will be in our description. Come join us on the podcast. Podcast. You can though. You never know. Come join us on the Discord. We have some fun games on there. Great discussions. We are a fan of fandom, so there's a lot that we discuss on there, ranging from Marvel to Star Wars to independent films to some documentaries. Our Real Study students are amazing with their collective knowledge, and we join in. And you might be able to request a film or a TV show or something for us to check out, and we might do it. We always have veto power, but we love the suggestions. So join us.
That said, we have a new segment tonight, a new news segment tonight that we're going to be doing, which we will move right into right now.
Now it's time for the real news.
And before we get to our movies, we are going to discuss the news this week in all of film and maybe even a little television. But as we look at the news that's been happening this week, we had something huge happen yesterday that we're still waiting to hear details on. And that is, of course, Jonathan Majors was arrested in New York. We don't know any details beyond that, but we do know what they're saying the reasons are. And personally, I'm kind of waiting. I don't want to jump the gun on this.
I'm not going to condemn him for allegations. I also read that though his lawyer said that there is evidence that he is innocent. So I'm waiting to see what they say that evidence is. But I read that recently as well. So,
all right, Tyler, any thoughts?
You're
waiting too. All right,
I'm waiting. It's just I saw some stuff on people jumping on it, the normal social media culture. I think it's unfortunate that we can't necessarily have these conversations where I'm not defending an abuser, but I feel like people just jump to conclusions and they they'll say things, and it's just this weird parasocial. I don't know why people invest that much in certain people that we don't know. We have
no clue.
Well, it's a very personal thing. And that, if people we know get taken up on these charges, it doesn't get blasted out to the world. And then we also are a country that's supposed to believe in innocence before before
innocent
being
before
proven. Right.
Yeah,
And
innocent
so
before proven guilty. And all that jazz.
it seems to be difficult for us. There's that word alleged gets thrown around a lot, but
I think there's like the added layer of like it's he's also a black man who's being accused of something too. So there's that there's a whole other layer that like I think people need to because we still got a Flash movie coming and that guy seems to be doing just fine.
Right. And I would just like to say I think it is kind of typical to once a black man is at his height that something always comes out. It's very, very much so like because think about it, like I think I just saw that like the top like 20 films or something like that, he's like number 1 and number 3. So number 1 is Ant-Man, number 3 is Creed 3. So it's like it's just very ironic. It's very coincidental always that when a black man is at his height, something comes out. Like Kevin Hart comes to mind when he was about to host the Oscars, and all of a sudden, all these old homophobic tweets that he did years ago had already apologized for, came back out, and so it's just the timing is very interesting.
It's suspect, no doubt. I will agree with that.
Quite suspect. Yes.
Let's see. We've also got Denzel Washington joining Ridley Scott in Gladiator 2, or we don't have a name yet, but the sequel to Gladiator, which you can put Denzel in anything and I'll watch it.
Like I said, I want him to be like a Caesar type, not Caesar, but it'd be nice if they had a black Caesar. I mean, I don't think race really matters when he has a personality like that. What I mean? But I would love to see. I just want to see Denzel Washington in something powerful. Like he always is something powerful, but I meant like because this is a period piece. I want it to be like he needs to be like a king or like a general or somebody that's leading.
Not another one of the gladiators like they did with
not one like no, because like no offense to Denzel Washington, amazing actor, but he is an older gentleman now,
right?
There are some things that he can do and some things that he can't. But still, Equalizers are some of my favorite films, and I know it's not 100% him, but still, it's an amazing film. So I don't care, just do some stuff. I love it.
I haven't seen those yet. You sounded very interested in this idea there, Tyler. Denzel in a Ridley film.
Just like a sequel to Gladiator, I never like thought about that. I was like, yeah, I guess so. It's been a little bit. I just never thought they would do a sequel to. They're really just out of ideas.
Why are they? Yeah, it's now the Legacy sequel is like the thing, right? But like,
right.
I thought it was just going to be comedies and maybe some action movies, but no, now it's like an Oscar winner. We're gonna.
I wonder if he always had the idea. I wonder if he always had the idea to make a sequel. He just wasn't. He wasn't quite ready. Like, was it like a James Cameron type of thing where he's like, the technology got to catch up to what I'm doing. So like, maybe, and depending on where Gladiator takes place, like maybe in his mind, he was just like, maybe I need the cinema to be in a certain place for me to, maybe I'm just giving him a little
Scott.
You know what I'm saying? A little Scott. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so how about
Scott Free?
How about this for another idea for a film that's going to be interesting? We've got rumors of RDJ going to be taking over the lead role in Vertigo, the remake.
I've never seen the original, so I don't have any qualms.
Yeah. Vertigo. Wow.
Vertigo's good.
Is that the one with the stairs, falling down?
He can't walk up to extreme heights because he gets vertigo because he fell at the beginning.
I know the poster. The poster has him falling, right?
And like the swirliness behind him. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. RDJ's good, of course. Here's some interesting news. Marvel Studios producer Victoria Alonso, we heard a week ago that she quit because she was retiring, and then it turns out that she was canned because of like toxic ridiculousness within the VFX department.
Wow.
Which right?
Interesting.
Right.
I'm surprised.
Are you?
Oh.
Yeah, VFX.
Would have never guessed the VFX department was being treated perfectly,
or overworked, or pushed too hard,
or word.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else interesting going on?
Jordan Peele announced his new movie that's going to be coming out in December of 2024, and it's apparently a Nope sequel.
Really? Can we have like a Christmas movie from him though, like a horror Christmas movie? Because
I wonder.
Honestly,
it's coming out in December.
I would love a horror Christmas movie from Jordan Peele.
Right?
And personally, I would love to be in it. You know,
got time.
but but I also feel like he's I don't know, he's interesting when it comes to films. Like I think there's no in between with him. Either you really like it or you really don't. Like there's no people. I've never seen people with an in between. Like I liked it, but there was just some elements. It's either yay or nay with Jordan Peele films.
That's true.
And I'm always yay. I haven't gotten a nay yet. So
you and Bats are the same way. Bats McSkelly absolutely loves all of the Peele movies.
I see what you did there. You gave it a nay because there was a horse and no.
No, but I like that. Or
but
nope,
you know what though?
Nope,
Tyler,
but I like that. Sorry, I should have.
Nope.
Yeah.
Tyler gets me is all I'm saying.
I tried to fill your shoes while you were gone with all the puns, but I
it was amazing, man.
Well.
If you watch the previous episode, man, he was really trying to get the puns out for you, man. I was like, I think Ty would be proud right now.
Let's see.
I was proud from a distance.
Here's a couple of quick ones. We've got the Daniels are going to be directing a Star Wars episode for what looks like Skeleton Crew, so that should be fun. If it's not a gross episode, it won't be appropriate. I'm realizing that Tampopo and Daniel Kwan and Swiss Army Man all kind of like weirdly link together. Anyway,
never seen Swiss Army Man.
Everything Everywhere All at Once as well, kind of all. But we've also got. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was saying I haven't seen Swiss Army Man yet, and Guns Akimbo. Those are on my list of kooky.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
I haven't seen that one either. I guess Guns Akimbo's gonna have to make our list.
The one with Harry Potter, right?
Right. Harry Potter with 2 giant guns. Anyway.
Hey, I got my wand now. Just all I'm saying. I went to the Harry Potter store in New York, so I got a wand.
Awesome. Do you have it with you? You can show us.
No, it's in the car. I'm too lazy.
That's fair. Show us
get my bags out.
We'll
I got you next week, though.
We've got Linda Blair reprising her role as Reagan in the new remake of Exorcist, going to be done by Blumhouse. So, from MrSniDBitS' perspective, that's likely going to be a bad movie, but that's just my opinion. I'm
curious.
Blumhouse is sometimes good, and
these Exorcist movies they're like doing like cinematic epics now. It's such a weird.
It is
like there's this one with Russell Crowe, which is I don't know why it's so epic now. It's like the Avengers of Exorcism.
That's hilarious. I feel like that's how Halloween movies are now. They're just like Exorcists are like Halloween movies now. They just keep popping up. Like you think it's done, and then they're like another chapter, and you're just like, oh, okay,
yeah.
All right.
I could do without any more Halloween movies. I'll be honest. I'm kind of over them. Let's see. One last thing here. Looks like in the new Ghostbusters Afterlife movie, we've got additions of Patton Oswalt as another actor, as well as
Patton.
Right, and then Kumail. I'm gonna screw his name up.
Nanjiani?
Thank you.
Yeah, Kumail Nanjiani. Yeah,
I'm so bad. But I appreciate.
I love him too, so that's gonna be great. Honestly, I need this film I need some respect on Winston's name is all I'm saying. I need respect on this man's name. Okay, he's the only Black man, and he is the heart of Ghostbusters. He was like us. He was us coming into the Ghostbusters world. The fact that he has been just pushed aside is utterly ridiculous. Okay,
like put him on the poster this time.
You feel me? Like, why isn't he on the poster? He should be right in the middle.
100%.
I need him dressed up as every character, but it's just him. Like,
I love that.
That's what I need. Redemption for Winston. That's all I'm saying.
Fair enough. With that said, that ends the news for this week, and we are going to move back over to the poster wall and talk about the 3 movies we will be discussing, which is Tampopo from 86, Burning from 2019, and Minari from 2020. And we will move over to the main screen and get right into this. We are going to discuss Minari first. Normally we hit these in chronological order, but that's okay. We're going to hit Minari because we are. We'll just leave it at that. So Minari is an A24 film, which of course the Real Study loves covering A24 films. It's very common for us to cover that studio. This one is distributed by A24, but actually produced and created by Plan B. Directed by Lee Isaac Chung, also written by Lee Isaac Chung, and then starring Stephen Yeun as the most famous person you would recognize from the film. I would also argue that people would recognize Will Patton, but that's just me because I love Will Patton. And then you've got Yeri Han, Alan Kim, Noel Cho, as the family. I forgot the grandmother's name, the actress that plays the grandmother. Here it is.
Sunyan Jin or something like that. Jun.
The actress's name, yes, Sunja, I think is the grandmother's name.
Yeah.
But yes, that actress as well, who did a phenomenal job in this film. So let's go.
She won an Oscar.
That's right. She did. Yeah. Let's start with Law. I know you said you weren't able to quite get this one topped off.
No, I stopped. I'm going to finish it after because I have to. My brain just has to finish a film. Like if I'm in the right there. I got to the part where David is talking to his grandmother about like his heart condition and everything while they're in the bed at night. So like I got like 45 minutes left, like a hot 45 minutes left. But from what I've seen, it's a very like I feel like it's a very poignant, interesting film, just showing the life of a Korean family uprooting from California to Arkansas, which I feel like that's a drastic change of events. Because California is a whole different entity than Arkansas, especially during this time period. Because I think it's like in the 80s, like early 80s, like 82, 83 or something like that. And so like this is still during a time where like I don't think the United States have even though he said like I think he said like 10 million or 10,000 Koreans come over to United States. But I still feel like Americans don't pay attention or because Americans, we're American. We're trash. So it's like, I just feel like it's still a time where like people, and this is no offense, especially white people, are very kind of like, what's happening here? Why are you? Type of thing. Even though that's in the film a little bit, I'm happy that that's not in the film a lot of it, So because it's like we get it. It's there. It doesn't need to be the whole film. That doesn't need to be showcased like that, but it's there. And then just to see like the interactions between Jacob and Monica is it's like very. I don't know. I love Asian cinema for the fact that like things are very subtle, but they're big at the same time, and that's very hard to convey. You just have to have really good actors to do stuff like that, and I feel like they find the best people to do things like that. I'll get on that a little bit on Tampopo because I was like, whoa. It's like, wow. But this was like really good. Like the dynamics between like David and his grandmother. Listen here, I would have whooped that boy to pieces. I would have tore his
That is a gracious woman. That is a super gracious woman. I'm going to drink your piss and then I'm going to forgive you right away. What? But
I feel like, because I was like, was really, really, really trying to listen to like what they're saying and like in like inflections and things like that, because the casting is amazing because the little girl actually looks like that woman. Like that looks like that can be her child. And then when David finally came to the room and she was like, is this the one that looks like me? And I was like, they do kind of look alike. I was like, how are y'all doing this with the casting and the acting? It's just very this is like thematic this is like MrSniDBitS type of thematic type of just symmetry, you know what I mean? And so I'm starting to like their dynamic now because like he didn't know her, like he didn't grow up with her like the little girl did, so like, or at least have met her at least, so like to see their dynamic is like very interesting. And as always, anything with a grandmother gets me because I lost like both my grandparents. All my grandparents, but like my grandmothers were like, those are my people, those are my ladies. And so anything with the grandmother, I'm just like kind of like focused and zoned in. So like that relationship is like very smart to like make that a relationship that's like focused on. But as always, the little girl kind of get pushed aside. I'm just like, it's fine. She's the oldest one. It's kind of like they were just like, eh. And I feel like that happens a lot in just like culture period. Like not even just Asian culture, just culture period. Like daughters kind of get pushed aside for like sons. And like I was like, damn. I was like, she got some stuff to say too, I'm sure. But they didn't, but it's fine. But I mean, I haven't finished it, so I'm not sure. But and I don't know. I think it's for up until the point that I'm at now. It's pretty amazing. It's a very subtle burn, and I do mean that to go in the because I read the whole thing. I know stuff burns. I know the barn burns and all that type of stuff. So like I know what happens. I have to visually visually see it. But like yeah, I think this is I don't know. I feel a calm when I watch Asian films. It's very odd. It's very odd. I just feel calm and I feel very present when I watch Asian films, more so than anything else. I think I've ever watched ever. It's just I don't know. Asian films make me pay attention. I think that's what it is.
All right, Tyler.
Just to add on to that, like I realized like that's how I kind of feel about like Asian cinema too, and I think a lot of it is just because they don't stray away from like normal things. Like just that scene with like the kid replacing like the Mountain Dew with pee.
Yeah,
and, like having the grandma drink it, like that's such a like a weird. If I pitched that in any other like story, it'd be like
they'd be like, "Oh my god, no!" They'd be like, "No, why would you can't do that?" No.
Unless it's a comedy, and then they'll allow it.
Right, but that's the thing. It's like it would be a comedy, and then it would be for kicks and giggles. But this is a very like teachable moment for this kid, and that's the other thing I love about this movie is the treatment of like kids in this film, and like how they view the world, and navigating things like I'm in a completely different country. My parents are on the verge of divorce possibly because like
sounds like they move them all over the place is what it sounds like it's been happening.
Yeah. Well, I think they're just in another state because the little girl said that they'd never been to Korea because the little boy was like, she smells like Korea, and she was like, you've never been to Korea. Like she was like, you've never been to Korea.
But the daughter might have been, so they might have lived there when the daughter was born, and then moved to California, and then
But I still feel like,
to
she wouldn't know either. Even if they moved, like when she was like 2 or 3, she wouldn't know.
But it will still affect them. Like that much movement.
No, for sure. I just feel like I feel like state to state is still heavy.
Right.
I mean,
and it's not small. California to Arkansas is a big jump. That's not a small jump.
I can't even imagine how the mom, like you could see her feelings immediately.
Even though they had the discussion, even though they came up with a plan, she still had very strong feelings about this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, he has a way of getting his way. So or bulldogging his way. He just kind of does it. Like, he kind of just does it, and he's like, it's fine. And I'm just like, but it's not, sir. So
to add to what Tyler was saying, this idea of being outside the culture, I do love the kids that they met at the church function. And the one kid was like, why is your face so flat? And he's like, it's not. And then immediately they drop it and like just get to being kids.
He was like, what's your name? My name's Johnny. Like, nice to meet you.
And almost like Johnny like almost kind of chased David and was like, hey buddy, be my friend, But then the girl, like, that was a really awkward, like, that was... tell me when I do say something in your language, but there's an innocence about that amongst kids where I don't know if it was like bad. Because when she got to one, she was like really neat. You know, that's interesting.
I love that scene so much because like there's that part where because I've had like an experience like that. All right, like chinga chingy chong. I'm like, oh no, white girl, no, don't do that.
Right.
But I love that they play it off like they're kids, like it's not going to be like a whole scene where like racism and like, which is it's in there, and like I posted that clip. We posted that clip with Steven Yeun talking about how that's a big part of what the director was saying. It's like we don't have to explain ourselves about anything, and we can just let it be in there, and that's it. And like we're not gonna like build an entire storyline on like it's like racism and like, which not to say it's not important, but it's not part of the story that they were trying to tell.
Well, and it's not indicative of literally every experience. There are plenty of people that are that move to places where it's like you're an outsider, but you're just an outsider. It's more just we don't know.
But there's also a difference between racism and just ignorance, right? Because like if I've never experienced any Asian people like across the board, I'm going to be a little like, especially if I'm a kid. Adults have a thing where we're like, I'm just gonna talk to you. But like kids are naturally curious. So she's like, for that little girl, even though it was kind of cringy, I was like, oh Lord, don't do that. I was like, no. But like she doesn't know because she isn't around Korean children or Korean people, period. So she's like, okay, well, let me know when I get to something that's I'm trying to bond with you without saying I'm trying to bond with you. And that's just like what kids do. And then when she finally got a word, she was like, oh, that's so neat. like
And they
you know,
both
like
seemed excited. They were both like, "Ooh,
right,
neat,"
and like
you know.
like there's no malice to it. There's like that's to me that was a scene of like pure innocence. Even with the even with the, like David and Johnny, like to me that was like pure innocence. He's like, why your face flat? It's like it's not. Okay, well, my name's Johnny. Nice to meet you. What's your name?
We can
The whole time I was like,
this.
if only it was this easy. Like,
I don't know if you
only-
ever got to the scene where Johnny had David over for a sleepover, because I'm not sure.
yet. So
Okay.
he did
He goes for a sleepover
because grandma was
grandma
like
has
ding dong broken.
right. Grandma ends up having a stroke.
The stroke.
And
yeah.
so, which was such a sad moment because you're like, oh crap, that really did happen. And so he goes over to Johnny's house and they just hang out for the whole night. They're brushing their teeth together. They're like doing all the just total normal kid stuff, which is great, right? And then in the morning, Dad comes in and he looks very typically Southern, very typically like, oh shit, who is this guy? And he's just like, you working hard with your dad? This is what I do. And just, again, just kind of
just a smooth, yeah.
blew right past it. And I was like, different.
But I also think it's important to show those moments because it's not always racism. It's not always ignorance. It's not always, it might just be some gaps in knowledge. You know what I mean? And I always say ignorance just because I don't mean ignorance of people just dumb, or stupid, but it's just ignorance of like you just not knowing. But it's so because it's like film always shows like the really harsh moments for like BIPOC people. They always show those moments, but they never show moments where it's like it might feel that way and then it transitions to something else.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, you didn't mean it like, because I've had moments where people have said things to me and I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? And they're like, oh no, I meant this. And I'm like, oh, okay.
That's different.
Cool.
Right.
And it's just, it's no hatred, no animosity, no nothing like that. It's just very quick, very, okay.
And I think that's the theme of the movie too. It's like at the end of the day, like we're all just trying to build. We're all just
we all trying to survive. We all trying to survive.
So there's definitely metaphors layered into this movie. It's an art house film. That's just the way they're built. So would you say, and again, Lala, I'm going to the end of the movie, so I apologize, but
you're fine.
The end of the movie when he finally gives in and has the water finder guy come out and do the stupid stick crap, which I agree with him in the beginning. I'm like,
water diviner.
He's
a water diviner.
Stupid, hokey American tradition garbage, and and it's something I grew up hearing about, and drives me nuts. But anyway, he gives in, and it's almost like that was them giving themselves fully to the American culture and just saying, we're Americans now, we're here, we're going to make a stay of it here. And that's kind of what I got from that scene. That rock was them like, okay, this is our new home, rather than just moving from place to place.
Right.
So
I get that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I see, because I read about it and I know that there's a fire. Usually water and fire are cleansing things, things that cleanse. And like, I just felt that's very interesting in this film because like a lot of things needed to be cleansed, like just like just like mentally, physically, emotionally, like because the grandmother for me is my favorite character up until this point. I love everybody, but she's my favorite character because I believe she sees with a set of eyes that nobody else sees with, because she's like. The fact that she's telling David that he's strong, but everybody around him keeps treating him like he's weak, that's different from, I think that's her bandaging him and then telling him that he's strong was like the catalyst for like the change in their relationship. And because I don't think he's
kind of almost like it healed his heart as well.
But I believe the drink did that. I believe the drink, because I looked it up, that's an actual like Korean drink that they give their kids that they say they're supposed to cure all like ailments. So like bringing that, I feel like bringing that old and mixing it with the new is healthy. Like you don't leave your traditions and your things behind when you move somewhere. You just bring that and you add in some new stuff. And I think that's what the symbolism of the grandmother is for me, is that she was like, don't forget Minari, don't forget this drink, don't forget he's strong, don't forget these things. And I think like she was like a cleansing and a cleansing for them in a sense. But yeah. So go ahead.
There's a moment where they bring Paul in to do kind of an exorcism of the house. He's the first guest outside of the five of them. And this is after the grandma has the stroke, and he goes in and goes to where the grandma's been looking and kind of exercises that area of the house, which kind of ties into the idea that the guy that lived there before had committed suicide and was poisoning the land with his like bad spirit, essentially. And that's kind of what Paul alludes to with this whole thing. And I think as soon as Paul does that, not only does David start to get better, but all of a sudden grandma can talk a little bit more, and she's doing a little bit better. Even though you can tell like half of her is a bit paralyzed potentially because she's holding her arm very carefully. But I still think that maybe there's something very spiritual kind of at the heart of this film that they don't really outright say. But it's a bit of a like, they exorcise the house and now they can stay because they figured out how to get the bad out. And that was part of the relationship problem as well. Like kind of everything was surrounding this bad juju, if you will, around the house.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I also like the idea of like that as being a thing of like another message in this story that I was kind of thinking about just now too, is like how just having like, I wouldn't call it like blind faith, but just sometimes it is just a leap of faith.
Oh, okay. Into the Spideyverse.
Like the whole like like they're arguing, you know, like, oh, we're supposed to go to America and we're supposed to save each other. Like we had this idea. And a lot of it is just taking a chance. Like sometimes like, yeah, that, you know, the water juju thing is like weird. And like by the end, they kind of just, you know what?
Give into it.
I'm
like,
just
all right,
gonna go
let's
for it. Why not?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Right.
You know,
I can see that. Yeah. But I feel like all faith is blind. Like that's the purpose of having a faith. You go into it blind, and whether people want to say that they don't have that or not, you kind of do, because you have faith. You're not going to just drop dead. You have faith that you're not, even though if you're not outright saying that, like, I have faith that I won't get hit by a bus. You believe, because faith is just a belief. You believe that certain things won't happen to you. So I feel like faith is always blind.
Can I, as a more agnostic atheist, can I try to sum up faith even for those who may not believe in something beyond that? Because there still is faith even for us, whether people want to believe it or not. Sure. Saying that you love someone and having them reciprocate that is all a matter of faith. There is no proof that somebody loves you other than their actions, and even actions are not everything. So like people say all the time they love each other and then they break up or they do terrible things to each other, and that faith is completely broken. So for marriages to last, 60 years, that's faith. Like that's
faith. Yeah.
And that's,
100%
beyond, the idea of God. You have to have faith in things you can't be, that can't be tangible. And emotions are wildly intangible. So all of our emotions for each other are wildly intangible. So I think that there's something to be said about faith on both sides of the spiritual coin.
For sure.
Yeah. Anyway, not to get too deep. There I am getting all super deep. But this movie brings that up.
We love a deep SniDBitS.
Why does that sound dirty?
Yeah, I know.
SniDBitS.
I said it in my head, and I was like, I'm gonna say it out loud.
SniDBitS, go take us deeper.
Take us deeper.
Go deep, SniDBitS.
Go deep.
Yeah, I can make that so weird, but I'm not gonna.
We went from faith to oh shit. But that's what we do here on The Real Study. Why would somebody carry a cross down the same road every Sunday for ever?
I feel like that's how he how he externalizes his belief and his faith. I don't think there's nothing in the Bible that says he has to do that. I promise you, I've read it. There's nothing in the Bible that says he has to do that.
But something draws him to do that and makes.
But something draws him to do that because I feel like because Jesus did it. Jesus carried the cross up the mound for his own execution. So I feel like Paul, because he's a deeply religious man, he just walks a mile in God's shoes every Sunday. I really feel like that's what it is. I don't think there's nothing more to it. And I don't want nobody thinking like, see the Bible. The Bible tell you all kind of stuff to do. And I'm like, no, that's not in the Bible for him to do. Jesus did it. and that was about it. That was a choice on Paul to
right. And it's not even that it wasn't Jesus's choice. It was
no, for sure.
Kind of put on him.
Jesus was like,
carry this for us.
You want me to do what?
Right.
Okay. I'm doing too slow. You gonna whoop me now?
I guess more than I get that aspect of it. I guess the part for me, and as this is where the faith thing, when it comes to the spirituality side, I'm just like, I have trouble getting off the couch. I'm not carrying a cross for anyone so I struggle with it. So I struggle with this bit. I think
get-
the older I get,
that.
the easier it gets, because the older you get, the more you're like, am I right or wrong about all this?
No, I get that.
Because
But also,
don't know, right?
I mean, for the most part, like faith is what you make it. As a person who, as a Christian, as someone who is faith based, I do some wild stuff, but like I'm human. Anyway, that's a whole different discussion. But as a faith based person, there are things that like you choose to do in relation to your faith. So like when I was reading the Bible, when I was younger and I would read the Bible, I would read maybe 5 sentences, and then I would write it down in my notebook because it helped me phonetically understand it more.
Mm-hmm.
So I have like pages of like the Bible just written down, like Matthew chapter whatever, verse whatever, and I would write them down because like I would read it first, then I would write it down, and then anything I didn't understand I would look up to study. That was me doing it. Nobody told me I had to do that. There's nothing like they do say you need to study the word and all that kind of stuff, have the word be in you and all these
but
things.
I don't think
like
they
that was my choice.
Yeah, I don't think they meant
no they didn't.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like so like, but that was my choice as part of the faith that I believe to like this helps me, right? This helps me to write it down, and it helped me get a better understanding. So I feel like for Paul, maybe he wanted to get a better understanding of like what Jesus went through, like the sacrifice that Jesus made for us. That was what that all was.
But wouldn't
him
he,
dying on the cross?
Wouldn't he
was
then
him
also?
dying on the,
wouldn't he also
What
like
else?
go down to the the strip club and wash some feet? Wouldn't he like maybe go, go to the lake and teach a dude how to fish? Like, wouldn't he try to do all the?
But
things?
I feel like, but that's like saying like, well, wouldn't you? Well, shouldn't you type it up?
Well,
Shouldn't you
okay.
do all these
That's fair.
other variations?
I
Like,
like
I
that.
don't have to do every bit of something. This is
This
how I
is
choose
literally
to.
his direct connection, the best.
His
he can
direct
find.
connection, the best
Makes
he can
sense.
find is what. Yeah.
I
Tyler,
think
go
we
ahead.
just stumbled on another theme,
Sure.
and the theme is the word of the theme, the word of the day. It's commitment, like, and I think that's a thing that's like just commitment to each other or commitment to our faiths. Like that's all. I think that image of him doing that, it's like that guy's crazy. That looks crazy. I'm like, but that's just his commitment to.
That's his commitment to his works, right?
Exactly.
Because
like,
if you look at it, Jacob's commitment to this
It's
farm,
American
Right.
dream, yeah.
It's the
this
field,
farm is this field, this farm, everything was like, I want this regardless of if you matter or not. Because he can see a thing that nobody else can see. He's like, so many Korean people come over here and they don't have the food that they are used to. Like the girl started crying when her mama gave her anchovies.
The chili paste.
And the chili, like she
crying
was
about
just,
anchovies again, yeah.
But that to me,
she was hilarious. I love her.
I don't have quite that cultural like significance within my own life, but there are things that I have nostalgia for at that level. Or as soon as you experience that nostalgia, you can't help but cry.
Because you thought it was gone. You thought like, okay.
And she brought her a giant bag, so she's like, "Holy shit, I'm gonna divvy this up." And
I could use this for a while.
This
Like
is 3
I get
years worth, and I'm gonna put a little bit in each, kimchi and this, because definitely
I'm gonna make
they weren't gonna make kimchi without it.
last.
So.
Yeah.
Like Jackie just came back from Hawaii, and like she brought like malasadas. It's just like fried bread, a bunch of like the candies from Hawaii, and it was like so good.
And I know you were like,
just putting anchovies in a bag. I'm like, yeah, we'll fly over. Like we put ahi tuna in like the water bottle containers and keep it cold in there, and then we bring it over and ship it over.
Wow, that's crazy.
Fresh.
So I gotta ask, being that you are Hawaiian,
because America ain't doing that.
Are you a big spam person? I gotta ask that question.
I do like spam. It's ridiculously expensive here. I don't know.
Really?
It's like $5 or $6 for like a can over here. Yeah.
How much
over
is it
there,
in Hawaii?
It's like $2-3, whatever.
So
I mean,
it's like the reverse of what you would expect in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Because
except milk in Hawaii is ridiculously priced.
There's no cows. They
I feel like
it all.
Yeah, I feel like most of the like is it because like they have an abundance of it, so they don't have to like sell it at like a high price?
Yeah, I didn't like spam is from because there's luncheon meat, but then there's spam.
Spam, yeah, man. When I tell you, just a little side note, my daddy, I love him. May he rest in peace. That man loved him some spam. You understand me? I mean, he loved it all type of ways. Put it on a cracker, fry it up. Like he didn't like my daddy ate spam like it was nobody's business. It was never quite for me. And I followed in his footsteps with a lot of things, but I couldn't get with the spam. You feel me? But he loves spam, man. Like I gotta make you something.
Where you something.
Well,
Man,
what would you make?
listen.
This is now I'm curious. What would you make? I gotta know because I've been
You
curious
ever,
about
like,
spam.
fried,
a
there's
little bit.
fried, you
I've
can do
had it,
fried rice with spam. You
Mm.
can do
You
spam
can.
musabis. You can do locomocos, but then with like spam instead of like because usually you do it like a burger patty, but you can just do it spam. It's basically just spam and eggs. Now that I realize it's just spam and eggs.
That was his favorite.
So
like
I-
spamming it.
I saw a video, and I don't know if this has a name or not, but it was just they took a piece of nori, they cut it into 4 pieces, and then they put rice and spam and egg, and then folded it all up into like a sandwich. And
That's the musabi.
Okay,
yeah.
okay, because that looks
That's
so
what it is,
good.
so
Like
good.
I'm just like, the spam is just a part of that, so it's got to be great with all those flavors.
And then if you fry it, like deep fry it, you can do like spam katsu. Like,
ooh.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do this to me right now.
Okay, so Muncie, spam is literally a lunch meat. It's a high fat kind of.
Right.
I think it's ham primarily. I think that's my best guess. But it comes in a can that's about this big, and it's like you could kill somebody with the can. They're very hard cans. You can even open the cans with their own little, like the old spam cans had like the little windy thing, right? But yeah, Google it. It's not for everybody. If you like Vienna sausage, you'll probably like spam. If you like
that's
really,
wild,
really
though.
fatty meat.
I love Vienna sausage. I used to love Vienna sausage. I don't eat pork or like beef anymore, but like I used to love Vienna sausage. So I never understood why I didn't like spam. Like I used to love get some Vienna sausages, cut them in half, fry them on both sides, put some mustard on it. Woo, I used to tear that up.
Oh, I just throw it in ramen. You can just have it.
I would just pull them out and put them on a cracker. Like I just love.
No, I would do all type of stuff. Put a little oil in it. But that was
I love that you guys, because I also like sardines and oysters and all sorts of like weird canned meats. I don't know, I'm odd like that, but
because I don't eat pork or beef no more, I don't eat that stuff anymore. So it's like it's kind of like lost on me now. So like I don't.
Is this a never again? But like if we ever all got together and Tyler was gonna make us, something, you'd eat it, right?
I'll say this though: if Tyler made me some spam or like some Vienna sausage or something like that, I'll grin and bear it. I'll just be next to the toilet for a minute. You know what I mean? Like I'll grin and bear it. I don't throw up. Is what I'm saying. I don't throw up. It comes out the other way. I don't throw up. But I wouldn't want to disrespect
TMI with BlackGirlMarvel, but
I wouldn't want to disrespect it. It's gonna always be TMI because I don't care.
I love it. I love it.
I don't care. But yeah, I'm a person who like, as long as you eventually will have food that I eat, like some chicken or turkey or something.
So you're
like
adventurous
that.
as long as you can finish it up.
I'm
with something.
Adventurous as long as I can finish it up. I won't be adventurous for a week. I won't be like beef stew and stuff like because I can't even chew steak. Like my brother gave me a piece of his steak and I was chewing it like gum. I couldn't physically swallow it. So
somebody needs to make you a better steak. I'm just saying the right steak should melt on your tongue.
Like no, I felt like my tongue was pushing up to not make. I was like
allergic,
trying to swallow.
Are you? Because like
my body was like I used to eat steak all the time as a kid. Like, but I was like, it was like my body was rejecting it. I was like, I kept trying to swallow it.
So isn't it like an actual? Because I know some people like they physically can't eat meat.
No, like I physically couldn't swallow it. Like I just couldn't. I physically couldn't swallow it. It was like I don't know I was like I gotta spit it out. I was like I don't know why I can't physically swallow it. So yeah, my brother was tearing that up. He was like, man, this dude.
Oh man, I would die. I'm sorry.
I don't eat a lot of red meat anymore either. But if I'm going to,
yeah.
It needs
like
to
I
be
said
able
though,
to just pull
if
apart with a fork.
we all got together, which I would love for us to like go in on like an Airbnb in a central location, and we all kind of like meet, and then like.
So three of us are on the West Coast. So
Tyler, whatever. Meet up somewhere in the middle on the West Coast, I guess.
So
and
Eugene
and Tyler made
centered.
food. I'll eat it, Tyler.
What I was thinking is maybe one of these Comic-Cons we could try to make a booth or something and have people come see the real study.
Yeah,
that'd be ridiculous.
And I'll bring a little fryer so we can
just like mix spam for people. We're just sampling spam. Why? Just because we talked about it once on an episode, so we're doing it.
Spam and talk with the spam talk with the real study.
We are going to rate Minari, and then we're going to move on to the next two films.
Keep going, double down.
Double down.
You're welcome. Is what I'm saying.
Let's go in the same order we did before. BlackGirlMarvel, what do you think of Minari? What do you rate Minari?
Well, seeing as I'm only partially through, I'll still give this a 7 because I'm enjoying myself. I'm not enjoying myself. If I wasn't enjoying myself, ooh, buddy, but that might change once I finish it. So right now it's a 7, and
Okay.
I don't think that's bad. 7.
7 solid. All right, Tyler.
I'm gonna give it a 9 because I made that that face several times when you're like. Sorry, it's an audio medium. My bad. So I'm making a face where I'm about to cry, guys. Like, just
yeah, that's good. I'll be forgetting that we are like that.
Yeah, we should talk about our physical humor.
Talk about our physical,
right.
Yeah, the people that can't see us.
That's fair.
But also, if you want to see us, we are on YouTube.
Right. So if you like the episode and you're like, what did that? What? Just
what are they doing? Just come on over to YouTube. And come on over.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
You could watch it twice. Hear it and then watch it.
We have a special pantomime segment that goes on for about 5 minutes of just no talking.
When there's quietness, you're gonna want to switch over to YouTube. That's how we do it.
It's pretty awesome. Is all I'm saying.
So we got a 7 and a 9. I'm gonna go. I'll split the difference. I think it's an 8. Pretty much anything that A24 can put out is going to be good. And again, I know they are only distributors, but they don't put themselves behind films that are trash. They tend to back, those Oscar winners. Oh wait, this is an Oscar winner. They have kind of been clearing the field for the last almost 10 years now. They've been kicking the shit out of everybody for the last 10 years. There's a reason why they have a huge fan base, and you can even sign up for the fan club. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. I'm part of it. I'm that ridiculous.
I am too. I get my little monthly newsletter.
Right. Oh, did you get your Brendan Fraser zine?
Get your Brendan Fraser.
It's possible. I didn't open the last one I got because I was busy.
A24 does zines, because they're so cool. They can't call them magazines. Every month. Well, I think it's like every 2 or 3 months. They're not every month. I used to think they were.
No, they're not every month. Yeah, I thought they were too. They were like every 3 months.
The newest one is all Brendan Fraser and everything he's done, and it's just kind of stories about his life and bits of screenplay. And
I'll be right back.
Oh my
very
god.
Cool stuff.
Yo, A24, real quick, if you want to sponsor us.
Yeah, dude, we would love it. A24.
We will do it.
We would do it in a second. We will watch all of your movies and rate all of your movies. Speaking of which, did you guys watch Marcel the Shell yet?
Yes. I love that movie.
That movie is my spiritual,
what movie?
Core.
I missed
Marcel the Shell.
I haven't seen it yet.
That's like me, that
Are you Marcel?
Speaks to me. No, I'm not Marcel. I'm not any of the shells, and there's a whole family of them. But I don't know, just the way that movie talks about life and the way that it approaches life.
Oh.
Nice.
I'm so excited. He's so gorgeous.
Well, there's also the first one I ever got was the Everything Everywhere All at Once one, which is really cool. So I know, look at that kid. Did you ever watch Encino Man and go, dude, that guy's gonna win an Oscar?
Nope.
Me either, but I am glad he did because he definitely deserves it. All right.
And I love Brendan Fraser. I think he's amazing.
What's that jungle movie he was? What was it
George
called?
of the Jungle.
George of the Jungle.
Okay, yeah, I love that movie.
The spoofiest Tarzan movie ever, and I loved every bit of it.
Leslie Mann playing Jane, if you will. So look at that. And he's got right there. Yeah. That's
and this for our audio listeners is when you switch over to YouTube, so you can see what I'm showing you.
We're showing pictures of
everybody
Brendan
else
Fraser out of the newest A24 zine. So if you don't have one,
yes, gorgeous.
What are you doing?
Yes.
Anyway,
no facts.
That said,
oh my god,
why don't we go right into Burning, and then we will do the pre-review and finish up with Tampopo. We're gonna do them in reverse order, and I actually like that because Tampopo. I can't wait to talk about Tampopo. So, Burning is a 2018 release, directed by Lee Chang-dong, written by Jung Mai-oh, and then starring, I'm going to mess his name up. I said this earlier, but it was Yo. Is it Yo? No, it's Yu. I think it's Yu. U-A-N. Stephen Yun, as we know, because he's into the movies tonight. And then Jeon Jung-seo. I'm almost butchering that terribly, but I'm doing my best. So leave it to the white guy to screw this up. Those are the main 3 stars. There are other actors in it, but it's pretty much about those 3. And it is a story about
Ken Watanabe, though. Oof.
Well, that's Tampopo.
I know, but I'm just saying.
Yes, we'll get to young Ken Watanabe, without a doubt. So Burning is a story about gentleman whose father is being put in jail or put on arraignment for, basically assault. And he is given his dad's farm. And while he's kind of in town to take back his dad's farm, he meets a girl, and then shit gets weird.
And shit gets weird.
That's an understatement. That is an understatement.
It's I can't really describe the film past that, because really there's no like center line for this. Like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to talk
everywhere.
about.
It's everywhere.
It is everywhere. So Tyler, Burning. You picked all the films this week. So also, why did you pick Burning?
Well, mainly because Steven Yeun, but because that guy's performance in this movie, he was so infuriating.
He's amazing actor.
I want to punch him in the face.
He's so subtle.
It's just
so
good.
subtle.
He does that thing where he's yawning at the other main lead girl. He was like yawning, and he like looks over, and he just smiles a little. I'm like,
yes, I was like, sir,
I don't just jump over this table right now.
Why am I enamored right now? I was like, I shouldn't be falling in love with you.
Right.
Is that the point? It's that I should be falling in love with you.
He definitely had the Gatsby thing going on. I'm going to agree with that statement.
100%.
He definitely.
And they didn't lean away from it either.
No.
He's Gatsby.
Not at all.
Yeah, this is the second time I'm watching it. I liked it. I liked this movie more the second time I watched it. Because I think I wasn't paying attention too much the first time. Or something. I just forgot a lot of what was happening. But I can see this not being a movie for a lot of people. It is very, very slow, and it's like done on purpose. I had to watch a bunch of.
He's not doing that justice. This movie is glacially slow. Like, it is.
I didn't notice.
You're like, okay, they're gonna cut. Are they gonna cut? Are they gonna cut?
No, I was locked in. I didn't notice any of that. I was like, this is great. It was like a slow burn.
It was, and it quite literally, I think Burning is but I'll look, okay. I don't want to cut you off, Tyler. Go ahead, continue.
Well, because there's the themes of like, social class and like existentialism, and like, again, the question of like, what is the meaning of life, and like,
well, what is real is another good question with this film.
Yeah, I think like the important thing about this movie is to remember that like most of this movie is from our main protagonist. Was it Lee Jung-soo? It's from his perspective. So like a lot of the times it's like I can't tell. I was like, he's like an untrustworthy protagonist. Like I don't know if what I'm seeing is from your perspective. So you might not be giving me the entire. Like I love that. Like the whole thing by the end is, did Steven Yeun kill this girl? And like even if he did, like is that the point of this film? Like it's a movie that's constantly giving you questions, and it never really answers anything. And I think that's life. Like Lost.
Yeah.
Like Lost.
Yeah. I told my friend that I felt like, because I was explaining it to her, and she was like, oh, that seems interesting. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, if I had to like equate it to another movie, just like mentally, I would say it was like a Korean Inception, because like it was a mental bender for me. Like mentally, I was like, I don't know what's real and what's not real, because he had a hallucination. So are you still having a hallucination? Did she leave you for this suave guy, but you couldn't take it, so you killed him? Or did he actually kill her? Like, it's like you can, and then, so Inception is like that at the end. Like, did the top fall? Is it a dream? Is it not real? Like, is it? So like, I kind of equated it to like a Inception, like, but just more, like a little bit more straightforward, but still it's like very mind-bendy. It's very mind-bendy. I enjoyed this film. I thought this film was great. I was just like, I was locked in. Like now that I think about it, I guess it was kind of slow. Like not that it was said out loud, but like I was very much like locked in because I was like, what are we doing? Like that's why I was locked in, because I was like, what's I'm confused. Like, but I also thought it was pretty cool that this girl was very aggressive. You don't see aggressive women in film. That's
true. A movie doesn't seem slow when La didn't realize that it was a 2-hour 28-minute film. Normally 2 hours and above, she'll say something. She'll like straight up call it out.
I'm like, we needed 15-20 minutes shaved from this film. And on this one, I didn't even realize, like, because I watched it first before I went to New York, because it was the longest. I was like, let me watch this first, and then I can like see if I can get through the other ones by the time I get back. and didn't even realize that 2 hours and almost 30 minutes of my time was like disappeared, because I was just so like, what's this story? And again with Asian cinema, it's like you think you're going left, but you're actually going down, and it's such a fun ride to be on. And I don't know, I'm just like, so I would love to be like in an Asian film, or like, because it's just, I feel like the creativity behind it is just like unmatched in some ways to like American cinema. So I don't know, this film was great. And like I said, I love that they had a girl that was like, huh, oh yeah, we grew up together, remember? And he's just kind of like, nah, I don't, kind of.
Dude, you nailed his face there perfectly. He had that.
Oh, just very.
It's like unimpressive, just unamused, just.
Yeah,
but
just
how
very,
do you hold that face for that many hours of shooting? Like, it just.
But also, it's like, not only did he hold that face, but his face, even though it's kind of like the same face, but it's different every time.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody calls his name, he's like, huh?
Or when he answers the phone, he always kind of, hello. Like he starts out really quiet.
It's very, and
it's
so
almost like he's got to like kick his shit into gear as he's moving. I don't know.
No, for sure. It's like he kind of like depletes everything, and then he slowly has to build it all back up. Like, I don't know. It was just very interesting. It was like a love story mixed with like a mystery, mixed with like a whodunit. Like it was just like a lot of like themes in this, and
yet
Stephen
also
Young
just a kind of a simple drama. Like
like a simple drama. Like it became like a triangle in a sense, like a love triangle in a sense. But yeah, man, it was just like this film was like very freeing. I felt bad for the girl because it was like she just didn't know who to be, where to be, how to be. Like she just didn't know. And plus I feel like they were young. Like Stephen Young's character is presented as like being like an older gentleman in a sense. So like
28,
like he
27, 28.
And then like they're kind of like maybe like earlier 20s, you know what I mean? So like they're so it's like she's discovering who she is, who she wants to be, what she wants to do. And the fact, I thought she was lying about going to Africa. Like real talk. I thought she was lying. I thought she was lying.
See, I thought she was lying about the cat immediately.
I thought she was lying about, listen, when that cat popped back up, I was like, did he kill her? Like, I lost my mind. I was like, because when he,
not just
I was
the
like,
cat.
because when he,
not just the cat.
Because when he called the name, it was like Boyle,
and it came right to him.
Was like,
but see, I like that they purposely didn't show the cat in the beginning. This is the first time
because you don't know.
So
you don't know if that's the cat or not.
And the cat could have happenstancely ran to him when he said
exactly.
Boyle.
Like
he was just presenting himself as calm.
But is that Boyle?
Anyway,
because you said he just got a cat. I'm just saying it was like it's crazy. It's Inception.
So I'm going to say, because I do want to talk about the length and the slowness of the film, because to me, the right audience obviously is you're trying for a very specific audience with the pacing here. Not every audience member is going to want to watch this movie, but this pacing aside, the cinematography in this movie is fucking beautiful. Like this movie
my God, yeah,
has some of the most beautiful shots. I love even some of the like less typical shots, like inside the truck. You get to see the dirty windshield.
Oh, yeah.
When it's in the sun, you can barely see out of it, which is like, whoa, I've been in a car like that.
Which is real life.
Right. And then it goes where you can see when they're in the shade and you're like, oh, that's very subtle. There was a time when they were in the restaurant eating the tripe soup where the lighting was going up and then it was coming back down again and it was going up and it's like very subtle, but you're like, was that me or was that the movie? I would say the magnum opus of the film as far as the shots are her when they're smoking the joint and she decides to take her shirt off and she's like dancing. That is all done in one evening, you can tell, and it was done, they had to do it just right because to shoot that at that time, which is the golden hour, is tricky as hell. And watching them go from she's really well lit to getting right in behind her to make her perfectly silhouetted was brilliant.
Insane.
Brilliant. And then still having the flag, and then all of a sudden the birds in the background, and then every time they moved, like there was a moment where her hair was wisping, and then all of a sudden it was actually the branches of the tree. I don't know how the fuck they did that, but it was.
I feel like they didn't do it. I feel like nature just happened to do it. It just became
the stars aligned for that evening.
I feel like because I feel like I feel like sometimes things happen like that on set that people just can't explain. They're like, how did somebody do that?
The birds, it like almost like God went out there and it was like birds.
I know, right? Like birds make this scene a little bit better.
Like
but also I like
those are
that
not
it's
digital birds. Anyway.
I like that the digital birds. That made me chuckle, but thank you.
They wouldn't be in this movie. Like they did not have
I
any
love
anything.
I love that that when she was like dancing, it wasn't always centered on her.
Mm-hmm.
Like the camera, like if her hand was here and she was like doing something, like all you saw was like maybe part of this in her hand. Like I like that it was a little off because like she's a little off.
Oh, she's
and
way
so like
off.
it was.
But that's my.
Nah,
that's
I'm
my
trying
opinion.
to be nice.
She's
but I'm just
way
saying,
off.
trying to be nice. But like I just love that it's like it wasn't. It didn't always have to be centered, you know. Like I feel like Americans are very much like it gotta be like this, like very regimented.
I'm about to say like film pretentious, but like there because that scene is about like her rawness of like who she is, which is
she's
just
looking
trying
for
to
the
like
great
being
hunger.
herself and being free.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And like her being free, like, and that's why I like that it doesn't. The camera can't quite get her because she's just all over the place.
Yeah. Because you really couldn't if somebody was actually just dancing and being free, you wouldn't be able to track them unless you know the moves.
Right. And when it's from inside, there are no tracked moves, right? There
is no tracked moves. So I love that. I love that they were just smoking weed. I was like, they're my kind of people. And I just love that they were Stephen Yeun is just like he's amazing in this. He's like he's very subtle and slightly menacing in a very like I shouldn't like that.
Talented Mr. Ripley is another movie that comes to mind when I think of this film.
Never seen it.
It's not great, but the concepts and the feelings are very similar.
Is that Brad Pitt?
No, it's Matt Damon and Jude Law.
Matt Damon, that's right.
Oh wait,
all right. It was one of them white boys.
Is Leonardo DiCaprio in it?
Mm-mm.
The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Talented Mr. Ripley is Matt Damon. I don't know.
You thinking about the Basketball Diaries?
No, just never mind.
Romeo and Juliet, right? That's what it is. No.
Honestly, I love Romeo and Juliet. That's one of my favorite films.
It's one of my favorite Baz Luhrmann films, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Gilbert Grape.
Oh, what's Eating Gilbert Grape?
Oh, what's Eating Gilbert Grape? Johnny Depp.
You can't find
me.
He was
so good in that.
You can't find me.
He was really good in that.
So I think the biggest problem I have with the pacing is when she talks about the cat, it doesn't feed, like puts the food out for the cat, and then he keeps going back, masturbating, whatever. I get it. He missed her. This was his like.
I think he
dark fantasy.
But also, it's just it's like him looking out into the window, like when he was like when they first started having sex, and he was like focusing on all these things. Part of me was like, is he trying not to come? Is he focused on these things so he's trying not to come? But then it's like I was like, I think he is. But then it became like a mantra. It was like, oh, when I see this, I think of her. I think of that moment. I think of that moment. I think of that moment. And he just like he busts his nut. So I think
that aside,
wait. I can explain that.
No, that aside. So when she talks about the cat and he questions her and she's like, "You don't believe me," I immediately am like, "Okay, I don't trust this girl," and I started to just not trust her throughout the whole film, no matter what she said. And of course, the well thing starts to come up, and that causes this idea of mistrust.
Yeah.
But for me, the moment where I got curious about the cat and was like, "Oh my god, this is fake. She's taking the food every day." And she's actually not in Africa, or somebody's coming in and taking the food or something. This cat does not exist. And we never get confirmation whether the cat exists ever. Even when we see the other cat, there's no like, but it took so long to, and I still believe she went out and got poop and put it in there, which is really nasty.
I'm crying. That's hilarious.
I thought that at the time. I was like, "Oh, this chick is
psycho.
She's literally like going out and getting poop."
Or Stephen Yeun did this.
Or somebody, right? Somebody's putting poop in there, and it's not a cat.
Oh, like he's shaping his own poop and putting it
something.
In
no, just like going out to the cat, just the sandbox outside, and like sifting out a few cat turds is no big deal.
Oh, Tyler.
So from the moment that happens, where I'm sitting there going, "Oh, this is intriguing. Oh, she's lying. Oh, that she's manipulating him. This will turn into something." Right. It took an hour to get from that to where we get to the cat. And I'm like, that took too long. I didn't care by the time we got to the cat. I genuinely was like...
I did. I was like...
Okay, the cat. It's been an hour. Like, get me there a little faster. And I think it's only because these beautiful shots, while beautiful, are taking up a huge swath of the film instead of the narrative.
I love that we're flipped now. I love that.
It's not
I,
bad.
I
It's
thought
just
I
different.
actually thought Law didn't like the movie this whole time. Like I thought it
Interesting.
was, and then you liked Mr. I thought you liked it.
I don't hate
Okay,
it. I
it's
don't. And the
cool.
more we talk about it, the more it's intriguing. But it's not. It didn't. I didn't come out of it
Right.
going, "Whoa!" I came out of it going,
This film hit for me. This film hit for me. This is great.
I was just kind of.
This is great.
The pacing
But that's why I
was,
feel
like,
we switched. That's why I feel we switched because I'm usually like, they would have took like 10, 15. It was good, but 20
Right.
minutes would have been better, like type of thing.
like the Green Knight was definitely better than this movie, right?
I think so. I do think so.
No, sir.
Law does not think so.
No, sir.
The pacing, I actually love the pacing a lot because just as you were like, oh, I'm waiting for like the answers, like, and I love that, like, that's the point of the movie is like nothing actually gets answered because I think that's just like,
And nothing.
That's life. That's life.
it's also just like our like social media and stuff. Like I love that, like we're always trying to find like the answer to every
The
like, we need to have
gratification,
answers.
right?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But sometimes things just are, and there is no, and we can't ever
Yeah.
find, and I think that's a big part of the theme with like Steven Yeun's character. Like for Lee Jong-soo, he's like, how is this guy, like, he's handsome, he's rich, he got the girls, all that stuff. Like it shouldn't be like why, like, and I think that's part of his obsession is like trying to figure that out. Like there has to be something wrong with this dude, like, or why
because
can't
his focus has always been on the girl, but then eventually he was like, something's off about this guy.
Yeah.
But it also makes me think, like, is it something off about him or is it something off about you?
Okay, so let's get into that. There is something really off about Lee himself. This movie shows us what it is like to be a psychopath who doesn't understand that they're actually the psychopath. And we see little tidbits of that, of him when he goes out and tries to do what Ben's character does, which he claims to burn down all these things. I think Ben doesn't burn down shit, but he likes to talk shit. And he's been talking shit to Lee.
I think he likes to burn.
Where's the other greenhouse? Where's the greenhouse?
I think greenhouse is a metaphor for women. I think he likes to burn women.
I think he might, but I don't think it's literal. I think he was talking metaphorically. I think that Lee took it literally.
No, he took it literally because he was just like, oh, okay, because we are in a place where there's a lot of greenhouses.
Right.
So
he
like
went and looked.
Oh, okay.
There was no greenhouse burn.
But
and
then,
of course,
but
I
that's
started
why
thinking,
I think.
Did he burn yours down and you didn't look? Because that's what I kept
right.
wondering.
But that's why I think like him running around looking for. I think that's when, and then she disappeared. I think he started to like click those two together. Like, okay, he's not talking about greenhouses. He's talking about
killing her,
murdering women. And
he
then
quite
when
literally,
because when he opens up that drawer and he sees her watch, there's also multiple watches.
Well,
multiple like not watches, but
just
multiple like things
right from a ton
in
of
there, and
people.
it's kind of like, you killed you because a trait of a psychopath is fire. Like sometimes that's like a clear indicator that somebody's like a psychopath. Looks like they like fire, they like watching it burn, they like things like that. And so the moment Ben started talking about like, just life, just light shit on fire from time to time, I was like, he crazy. I was like, he crazy.
Again?
He was like, we just smoking and having a good time, and you just came out out of the blue.
He also equates smoking a joint. Smoking a joint and burning down a greenhouse,
Right.
Same thing.
Those are equal. Right?
Same thing.
Those are equal.
Same thing.
Which I thought
and
was
so to me, that was just like, I was like, when he said that in the calmness in which he said it, I was like, oh, he's crazy.
So
I was like, he's crazy. He either kills women or he sells these women, because there's no way he's making money.
I think he's smart, and he knew that the girl was weird, and he played in on that. I think that Ben's character is completely innocent in this film and was killed brutally for no reason.
I don't think he's innocent on this, because I feel like he honed in on the girl that like wants experience so bad that she'll get it from whoever.
But they met out of country.
But why wouldn't he be out of country? If I can go to Africa, I go to Africa. Maybe that's where he picks his targets. Because people go on tours all the time. It's always tourism going on in Africa. People go on those tours all the time. If he can find if he can okie doke somebody, they just happen to be in the same place that he is, or he's like, oh, I'm heading there too.
So he pitches the tent in Africa until he sees a Korean girl that's going home. I'm finding
Why does she have to be Korean?
Well, I mean,
But I'm
he's
saying,
going
why does
home
she
to
have to be?
Korea. I'm just saying that's
But
the
why does
girls
she?
that he's been dealing with in the film. That's all.
I don't feel like that's the only girls he deals with. I feel like
So
I feel like
Burning
the amount
2.
of like.
Oh wait, Burning 2 would be a prequel, and we get to see all of his cohorts.
Yeah, to see all of his.
I don't know.
The burn before. I don't know. Like it'll be something like that.
Just call it Burn. Right? Now, okay, here's the question then: who is the little kid we see in front of the burning greenhouse? Is that Lee or is that Ben?
I think that's Lee.
I think it's Lee too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's. I feel like it was Lee.
I think that. I think that. Himai or Jaime, sorry, is her. I'm screwing her name. Jaime told Ben a ton of stories about Lee when he was a kid, including a burning greenhouse.
Yeah.
And that's what led him to just fuck with this kid. Like that's what he's
because
doing.
remember
because he
remember
at
the
rich.
end. Because remember he told him, he was like, yeah, like I never been jealous of nobody before.
Right.
Like the way she trusts you, I ain't never been jealous like that before. And I feel like somebody of his like whatever social standing he has, because obviously he has all these people that like to be around him, but he doesn't care to be around them because to me he never seemed happy. And usually like psychopaths, like social societal things are like it goes over their head. They do it to keep appearances. So he's around these people. For me, the way I was looking at it, he's around these people to keep appearances. So it's like, because he never seemed intrigued by anybody coming over. He's like, oh, I got people coming over. And to me, Lee is like the same. He could just be a
stuffy asshole, though. I mean,
I don't know. I feel like it was
for
all
them.
like
He did invite them over numerous times. He went out and hunted for the cat with them. Psychopaths don't generally care about animals.
But
I don't know. There's enough clues to me that
I don't know,
me,
but I
it
feel
feels
like
a
you
red herring.
do.
They're going, look, Ben.
I don't know, but don't get it twisted. I still think Lee is a bit of a psychopath himself. Like he's a psychopath in training. You know what I mean? Like he could.
He just
like,
hadn't snapped yet.
You know,
he
hadn't snapped yet, and this was like his breaking point. But I still feel like Ben is a bit of a psychopath because like you do things to keep up appearances to move the way that you want to move, so there's no suspicion on you. Oh, Ben's a great guy. He couldn't. Oh, we had dinner this night. He wouldn't do a thing like this.
He
like
drives
he
a board. Right.
And he's smarter than most people. And so, like, even if she told him all these things about him, and he's using it against this boy to ruffle his feathers because he's jealous of him, it wouldn't surprise me if he somehow is killing women or somehow trafficking women, because Jaime is such a free spirit. Like when her room was clean and like in order, I was like, something's off with that.
Yeah, she left the country.
Something's off with that.
So when we see her dancing,
but when she left the country the first time, that joint was messy.
No, I know.
There were stuff all over the refrigerator. There was nothing on the refrigerator. I was like, this is odd.
Here it is.
Odd.
So here's my reasoning. So she leaves the country permanently because she's done, because she was unable to find the Great Hunger through Ben or Lee, and decided, screw this, I'm done. She was so flighty but
how could she leave the country with no money?
I mean, that's what her mom and her sister said about her from 10 years prior. Like, they don't know her.
But you can't be free and flighty, but like rife with cash. Like you can't, like those two things. I feel like those things don't. Do they?
Criminals have money, even though they're flighty. I don't know.
Are they?
We're really just.
Do you think maybe she banked in her like frequent flyer miles?
And she already been to Africa, so she obviously got some.
But she collected those box tops.
She ain't got that many miles. Ain't that many miles. She ain't got to like. You don't go to Africa and have enough miles for another free trip. Like
we are going to need to wrap up on this one here in a second, but I did want to cover the fact that we do get to see a very great film that shows South Korea in a very real way. And I even love that they show that his house is so near the border they can hear the propaganda tapes that are blasted every day.
That's gotta mess with people, man. Like
it's gotta be weird, but it kind of like puts it into perspective how small the country is, for one, geographically. And I love how they compared Americans to Chinese and how they were both like, yeah, they're kind of both the same shit. Like there's no real difference between them. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty true. Giant superpowers that have an ego about, we're the best in the world. That's
pretty much.
It's not untrue.
Okay. No, it's not. All
right, so we do have one other movie that we want to talk about, and we have the pre-review. I'm not even sure how long that is. So let's get the ratings of Burning. I think we definitely, Tyler, unless there was anything else you feel like maybe there was.
No, just existential crisis, not knowing the answers to anything. It's actually interesting watching you guys talk about it, because like the whole point of the movie is like none of that actually matters, because it's Steven Yeun is the little hunger. He enjoys those things, right? Like that's enough to satisfy him.
Right.
But for Lee Jung, his whole thing is like the great hunger, like, oh, I loved her. Like you killed, like something happened to her. I need to know. And I love that they made him, like he's a creative like fiction writer. So like that's another added part. I'm like, you definitely are trying to.
When we saw him zoom in on the screen, for all we know, this is the rest of the words.
Like he's just trying to fill in the blanks because his brain can't function otherwise. Right. Like he can't just accept that.
Yeah, but how do we know this isn't his work of fiction? Is what I mean. Like, how do we know that this isn't the story he's writing?
But that's the thing, we don't know. Right. Inception. I keep trying to tell y'all this is Inception.
You didn't see the little top spinning at the end of Burning?
That's what I'm saying.
I saw the fire burning in the background forever. Longest.
But you know something was like off because he took off his clothes and everything. I was like,
well, he knew that he needed to get rid of that.
This was hella premeditated.
Right. I do want to say I love the fact that like this movie rarely uses music, and it's like that's part of like there should be music here, like because you're trying to find meaning in things, but it's even harder to find meaning in things because nothing's like emphasized by any music or like special cinematography. Like,
well, no, the cinematography I think is what's guiding you, because it feels very if anything.
No, the cinematography is beautiful. So rating,
go for it, Tyler.
I'm gonna burn this at a 9. I don't know if there's a joke in there somewhere.
So I rated it a 7 on Letterboxd after watching it, but then we had this discussion, which elevated the film. Any film that can create this kind of discussion around it is a good film, in my opinion. Like, I don't care if during my experience with the film I was whatever, lackadaisical, tired, falling asleep. It doesn't matter what it is. If it can engage me after the fact, it's a well-made film, because it's obviously creating dialogue between people that want to talk about it. And Gesundheitser.
Yes.
That said, when I rated it a 7 in Letterboxd, I hadn't talked to you guys at all, so now I'm going to raise it to an 8. Lala.
Oh.
I thoroughly enjoyed this film. Pacing didn't bother me, which I know that's odd for me. But again, I watch Marvel movies, so pacing. I thought the acting was brilliant. Cinematography was amazing. I like films where I might get some stuff, but I also like them when I don't, and there becomes a discussion about them. So I will say, give this a 9. Give this a solid 9. This is pretty darn good. I would probably watch this again just to see if there's some nuances I missed or something like that. So
I like it.
And Brendan agrees with me.
All of Brendan.
Yes.
Every Brendan that exists, apparently.
Yes.
All right. That said, we are going to move on to the pre-review. This is, of course, done by Biggie, who is, of course, one of the crew members. And you can find him as Retro Tape Noir. Retro Tape Noir on all platforms.
He just popped in. Hey.
But not on Twitter. He's still boycotting it. Anyway, that said, we're going to move on to the pre-review. We'll be back.
Hey. Biggie's pre-review brought to you by The Real Study, Sunday nights, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific.
Welcome to Biggie's pre-review. The pre-review is where I tell you about upcoming movies coming to movie theaters and beyond. This is for the week March 27th through April 2nd, 2023. Let's get into it. First movie on my list looks fantastic, and it's called Batman: The Doom That Came to Gotham. Inspired by the comic book. Set in the 1920s, finds explorer Bruce Wayne accidentally unleashes an ancient evil. The logic, science-driven Batman must battle Lovecraftian supernatural forces, threatening the sheer existence of Gotham. Prepare for a mystical, often terrifying Batman adventure unlike any other. Now, as a horror fan, I do believe this movie's going to be fantastic. It's got an excellent setup, an excellent storyline. Batman, The Doom That Came to Gotham, premieres in video on demand starting March 28th. Next up is Acid Man. In this drama science fiction film, Maggie tracks down her estranged and reclusive father, Lloyd. Together, they attempt to make first contact. This movie stars Diana Argon and Thomas Hayden Church. This movie definitely looks interesting, and I'm so looking forward to seeing Thomas Hayden Church. The sci-fi drama Acid Man premieres in limited release in movie theaters starting March 31st. Did someone say Bruce Willis? Next up is the movie Assassin. In this thriller fantasy, a private military operation invents futuristic microchip technology that enables the mind of an agent to inhabit the body of another person to carry out covert, deadly missions. This movie stars Bruce Willis, Namzam Mbatha, and Dominic Purcell. I'm glad to see Dominic Purcell in something good. Assassin has a limited release in movie theaters starting March 31st. Next up is some mystery with 1001. Unapologetic and free-spirited Inez kidnaps her 6-year-old son Terry from the foster care system. They set out to reclaim their sense of home, identity, and stability in a rapidly changing New York City. The preview for this movie looks great. I definitely think this is one to watch. 1001 premieres in movie theaters starting March 31st. Alright, here's a big one. Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. In this action-adventure, a charming thief and a band of unlikely adventurers embark on an epic quest to retrieve a long-lost relic, but their charming adventure goes dangerously awry when they run afoul of the wrong people. This movie stars Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Justice Smith, and Hugh Grant, amongst others. This movie has been in the works for a while. I know all the D&D fans out there are curious about it. I want to check it out. The movie Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves premieres in movie theaters starting March 31st. Next is a drama horror thriller film called Malum. A rookie police officer willingly takes the last shift at a newly decommissioned police station in an attempt to uncover the mysterious connection between her father's death and a vicious cult. This movie stars Jessica Sula, Monroe Klein, and Clark Wolf. This movie definitely looks intense, and I can't wait to check it out. The movie Malum has a limited release in movie theaters starting March 31st. Here's something upbeat from Disney called Prom Pact. Prom Pact follows the main character, a feminist who doesn't believe in the idea of falling in love, especially in heteronormative love. But then she falls, and there's undeniable chemistry. This movie stars Peyton Elizabeth Lee, who some people may remember as Andy Mack, Milo Manheim, Wendy McClellan-Covey, and Margaret Cho. The movie Prom Pact premieres on Disney Plus starting March 31st. Now on to what Netflix has, which is Murder Mystery 2. In this crime drama comedy, now private detectives launching their own agency, Nick and Audrey Spitz land at the center of an international investigation when a friend is abducted. This movie stars Adam Sandler, Jennifer Aniston, and Mark Strong. The movie Murder Mystery 2 premieres on Netflix March 31st. Alright, next up we have some fantasy romance with Space Oddity. when Alex gives up on Earth and decides to leave it all behind for a one-way mission to Mars, an unexpected romance forces him to choose between an uncertain journey to the stars and an even more uncertain journey of the heart. This movie stars Alexandra Shipp, Kevin Bacon, Simon Helberg, and Kyle Allen. The movie Space Oddity has a limited release in movie theaters starting March 31st. Next up is the musical Spinning Gold. Neil Bogart launches Casablanca Records in the 1970s, giving rise to such musical acts as Donna Summer, Parliament, Gladys Knight, the Isley Brothers, the Village People, Bill Withers, and Kiss. Along with a ragtag team of young musical lovers, Casablanca Records rewrites history and changes the industry forever. This movie stars Jeremy Jordan, Winslow Fegley, Peyton List, Jason Derulo, Wiz Khalifa, Jay Farrow, Samuel L. Jackson, Richard Dreyfuss, and Justin Timberlake, amongst others. The movie Spinning Gold has a limited release in movie theaters starting March 31st. Next up is the drama comedy Tetris. Hank Rogers discovers Tetris in 1988 and then risks everything by traveling to the Soviet Union, where he joins forces with inventor Alexei Pajitnov to bring the game to the masses. This movie stars Taron Egerton, Nikita Efremov, Rick Yoon, and Toby Jones. This looks like it's going to be one to watch. The comedy drama Tetris will release on Apple TV Plus March 31st. And now we have something from Shudder with The Unheard. In this drama horror mystery Shudder original, Chloe Graydon undergoes an experimental procedure to restore her hearing, so she begins to suffer from auditory hallucinations related to the vanishing of her mother. This movie stars Lachlan Watson, who some of you may remember from the series Chucky, and Michelle Hicks, amongst others. This movie looks like it's going to have a great story. I'm definitely down for it. I need to re-up my Shudder. The movie The Unheard releases on Shudder starting March 31st. Well, that looks like it's all for the pre-review this week. And I hope to see you out there.
And we are back from the pre-review, and as always, Lala was mocking me, but you guys can't hear it, but maybe one of these times you'll hear it. It's pretty great. That said, thank you as always, Biggie, for the pre-review. Some good movies Biggie. Look like they're coming out. We've got the Tetris movie, of course, which will be great. We do have, of course, D&D, which I've been hearing great reviews. I know all the movie things got to see D&D. And
I can't wait to see D&D.
He also said he saw John Wick 4, which, Tyler, you got to see that and said it was good.
It was good. It was fun.
Nice.
You have not seen a PS5 game like John Wick 4.
All right, that's fair.
Nice.
That said, since we are doing things in completely reverse order tonight, we are going to get to the first film, which is the last film, but that is Tampopo, which is,
delicious,
a strange film about ramen. That's all. That's all I got to say.
It is delicious.
It is a noodle western, is what I heard it called, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, they called it a ramen. Wait, they called it a ramen western, I believe.
No. So they're making fun of spaghetti western, so it was noodle western, is what it the quotes. Anyway, so it's a story. So I don't know. This movie is odd. So it feels Monty Python-ish. It feels like there's three stories going on. There's the A story, which is about Tampopo and her ramen store. There's the rich guy. I don't even understand. We'll talk about him. And then there's the side stories that kind of keep hitting that are very vaudeville-esque, where it's just and this is happening in this grocery store randomly. I don't know. But this is, of course, a classic. I had never even heard of this movie until Tyler pointed it out, which is bizarre to me because it's like a staple. It's a Criterion classic. Which
I got one in the bag.
You do? I had never even heard of it, which is weird. I normally have at least heard of a movie even if I didn't want to watch it or didn't hear about it before. I noticed.
Why don't you go first?
I totally I will. So I noticed Ken Watanabe in as one of the main characters when I'm like looking the film up on IMDb, and I'm like, what? So I start watching the movie, and I'm like watching along, and I'm like halfway through the movie, and I'm like, where's Ken Watanabe? And I like look, and I'm like, Gun. Oh, that was good. Oh my God, he's like a 12-year-old. He's like, not really, but he's like 21, 22. He's like very young, and he's not built at all. He's really skinny. And he doesn't have the iconic like facial expressions that he does in the more modern movies. But he has a very specific way about him in like The Last Samurai or Inception or any of the modern films he's in. This movie took me by surprise. I did not expect any of it. I didn't expect to almost shut the movie off from being so grossed out I didn't know what to do with myself. I'll get to that in a second. But I also didn't expect to be smiling ear to ear and laughing out loud ruckusly throughout like almost the whole film. This is a magical film, I would call it. It is brilliant. We'll get to the grossness. What do you think, Lala?
Um,
Oh no. It's the reverse.
Yeah, no, it's the other way.
I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. I will say this is the first film I watched when I came back home, like a few hours after I came back home. So I was like, I woke up and I was like, let me start these movies. And I fell asleep a couple times. And I had to rewind it back. And that's probably why I didn't get to finish Minari, because I actually started at a good time that I could watch them both. But because I kept falling into a coma and waking up, I kept having to go back so I can understand it.
Well, it's this film, so you have to like really go back. You
have to pay attention. Like, no, you can't. You can't. If they were just speaking English, then I can kind of like
you can even half asleep, like, oh, I get what's going on. Take
no facts right. And like open my eyes. That's not happening here unless somehow I just understand the language. No, but I thought this film was like very interesting. I've seen Asian cinema do a lot of film about like food. And I heavily respect it. There's a Netflix show that I used to watch that was like built around food or something like that. It was so good. I can't remember the name of it, but if I can, I'll put it in the Discord. But it was like so good, and I was just like, why am I hungry and this is delicious? like media. Like what is happening? But this film was like very interesting. One, I'm a big fan of Ken Watanabe. I did not look up anything about this film when I never do that for any of our films. I look up stuff afterwards. I never look up stuff before because I always want to be like just kind of like taken by surprise. Like I never even look up like what's the plot, because sometimes I feel like people write too much information in plots, and they might give away some stuff. Yeah. But I watched this and I was like, that looked like Ken Watanabe, but I'm half asleep, so I'm like, it's probably not him. I'm just watching the film, and then something happens, and I was like, and I love Ken Watanabe. Like I love him. I think he's like phenomenal, and also I'm like heavily attracted to him. Oh my god. Anyway, I thought this film was like very interesting. It reminded me of like an anthology. Mm-hmm. And so it was very interesting to see just like this main storyline, but then like intercut with things, and then like back to the main storyline, and like, oh yeah, this, but then you see at the end, like all of that kind of comes together, and I'm just like, this is quite anthology. I was like, and shout out to Snippets for, putting me on the anthology journey for me to even be able to say that, growth. I'm out here growing in my cinema knowledge. But I thought it was really good. Like I was smiling too, to mimic Snippets. I was like smiling at certain points. Certain points I was like, what? Like, no. And then other points I was like, oh, they nasty. I was like, y'all are nasty. I wasn't quite grossed out as Snitty was, because I saw it as like it was sexual. Those two were just weird. They were just like weird and sexual when it came to food. And I was like, I like food too, but like relax. Like,
you are not yoking, okay?
Wow.
I literally stopped the movie. I cannot, but if you don't like food, I don't like food and
I get that.
Sex. To me, those are totally different worlds that should never cross. I don't even care if it's like candy or whipped cream or anything. It was so sexually charged. It was so amazingly
sexually charged. It was just like, oh.
And it kept going for
it kept going for a long time. It was like
the shrimp.
It was like,
what was with the shrimp?
The shrimp was nuts. It was so nuts.
I don't know.
It was
This
wild.
film
And
was
what's
like
her booba
heavily-
margarita? Like salt and lime. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Some people like that's like a fetish, like sexual gratification. It's like it gives it a little something extra, and the food is
You
delicious.
said extra.
And the food is delicious, you know. But I thought this film was very interesting. It was just nice seeing like it really felt like an Avengers movie where like all these odd people came together to save this woman and then they just dispersed. Like
Right?
They even did the
just-
We
Avengers
will
thing at
have
the
them
end
back
too.
when we need them, right?
no,
Yeah.
for sure. And then like everybody's leaving, and then like the one guy was like running after
He's
him. I was like,
chasing him. He's
stop
like,
it.
this can't
I was
end.
like,
This is so
stop it.
amazing.
I was like,
Yeah.
I said, stop, do not do this to me. But like, I just, because it was just like, we just rode into town one brisk Sunday.
Did you notice it had
Like, we
horns
didn't
on
know.
the truck? I love that. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
I was just like, I don't know. I just thought everything about this was great. It just seeing like the woman get her come up, like her what she deserves.
Mhm.
The son was able to beat up those kids and get what like the respect that he deserves.
And then they
like,
became friends.
And then and they became friends. So like that was cool to see. Like I don't know the success, and like she was a little shisty, you know, asking people like, "Oh, this tastes
Dude, they
weird."
were
Like it was just,
shady. Trying to
certain
get that
things were
recipe.
happening. Certain things were happening, and I was like, "Is this supposed to be funny? Is this supposed to be funny?" And that's when I looked it up on my phone, and it was like comedy. I was like, "Oh, it's supposed to be funny," because I was like laughing at stuff, and I was like, "I'm not sure if I'm supposed to," but I'll say this: favorite part of the whole movie is when the guy gets shot.
The Yakuza dude, yeah.
Dude.
Yeah,
So many
when
times.
he gets shot, and it's funny that he started talking about like boar, and he's next to a pig. For one, he's covered in blood, and then he tells her like the recipe to like yam sausage or
baked
something.
intestinal yams, dude. Like,
Yam
yeah.
sausage. He's like yam sausage. He was like, I wish to eat that with you. It's like you will. You'll get better. I'm like delusional, babe.
But
He's
he-
not. He's
but he did ask,
He's not
doesn't
gonna
that
get better.
sound good? And she says, yes, that would sound great with, I think, like soybeans and
like,
soy
soy
sauce.
sauce,
or-
like
yeah, soy sauce
yeah.
for sure, but it was
And I
another
was-
thing I was like,
that scene alone cracked me up because I was
And
like,
his die face where he was like,
yes, he was like, like that scene cracked me up because
Too
it was
much.
just so funny because it was just like even when you're dying, you're talking about food, and she's like, "Oh no, but yeah, that would be delicious with some soy sauce." I was crying.
So,
I was like, "That's."
I know we haven't gotten to Tyler, and we're definitely going to, but this still just begs, because we haven't even gotten to the main story. This is just the B story. But I really suspected there was enough to this that she was jealous and was killing him for kissing the oyster girl or something like that. I thought there was like this other dynamic.
yeah.
That scene was weird too. He was like,
Bro,
"Ugh,"
that
she
scene was like,
"Ugh."
how old was that girl? That was
She
a
just
creepy
licked-
scene. Like,
That's all.
Honestly, I feel like I will have to watch it again, but I feel like they switched actors. I feel like it started off as a child, and then when it came to the licking of the face, they changed it into an adult. I promise you, it's not the same person. I promise
it's
you.
also
I was
a
like,
Japanese film filmed in Japan, done by Janus
Yeah, I was
Films,
like-
so...
I was
Also,
like,
all
this-
the other girls were like older women, so I was like, wait, is she just?
Yeah.
does
she could have
look-
just looked
That's-
young. Like, that's
Right.
possible.
but it is possible. I really feel like it was a child at first, and then they switched it. They were
felt
like,
that way,
and they
and it
switched
felt
it to
wrong.
an adult. I promise you, because I was like, I'm not sure about this scene. I was like, I'm not sure about this.
No.
Because what are we doing? And then the ending scene with just like the mom breastfeeding her child, and they just kept getting closer and closer to like the nipple. I was like, what are we doing?
So
With the credits,
there's
you're-
actually a point to that. We can talk about that.
I'm
in a
like,
minute.
is that the beginning of food?
Yes, that's exactly right. That is it. They were trying to
Yeah.
show all levels of food, whether it be
That-
sexual,
yeah, that's
or
what-
just
that's
for
what- I mean,
sustenance, or
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I caught it, but still, the slow zoom in. I was like, well, all right.
that's the artistic choice. Tyler, you picked Tampopo as well as the other two films. Why Tampopo?
Well, so I ran into it because someone had showed me that Daniel's like trip to the Criterion things, and they were picking all these movies, and they were talking. Then he picked this movie. Daniel Kwan picked this movie, and he was like, "Yeah, it's about ramen, and like it's absurd." And I was like, "Okay, what is this?" And I went to go watch it, and it was like the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. I think
This
But-
influenced them, no doubt.
100%.
There's no way that it didn't.
Oh yeah.
And like this is the kind of absurdity like I want to be doing. Like this is if I could make some sort of film, like that would be the film.
But it's absurdity
After
to
the
me that
pod,
makes sense.
I want to talk to you because I
Yeah.
had a thought about an absurd short that I would love to talk to you about. So,
Okay.
because I have
Look at
another
Ty,
short
he's
that
so
I'm
easy.
going to do completely on my own. I have a short that my wife and I
You-
have already completely written, and I basically have it, but it's dialogue free, so that makes it easy. But it's about a minute, and it's full horror, and it's disgusting. I'll get to that.
I
But
love
the
it.
other one that I just thought of today, I think we could figure out a way to do it even with very simple production. So we'll talk about it.
Down.
And it's absurd, and that's we'll have to talk about that. But Tom,
I just love absurdity. Like the more absurd, the better. Like if you can, I love that. Like they have the Chaplin, like Buster Keaton shorts in between. That's what it felt like. But everything was about how food means everything. Like there's even that scene where it got real sad. Like the mom died,
and it was like really sad.
It's a little. He was like, "Go cook in the kitchen." I was like, "Oh, this is a little." I was like, "Oh, that's not good." And then she cooked, and then she like died, and I was like, "This is sad all of a sudden." But why am I still kind of like laughing? Because it's also because it's so serious. It's like kind of funny. Like,
well, the doctor and the nurse stepped aside while he made her cook dinner. Like, they didn't step in and go, "She's dying, dude."
He came in so disrespectfully though, like
exactly.
And then like I blinked for a second, and she was just like watching them like eat, and then they ate, and then she just passed out, and they were like, he was like, "Eat your food. It's the last thing your mother cooked you." And the daughter is just weeping, and I'm just like, what are we doing? Like the lady that kept squeezing the stuff.
That was also really good. She's like Speedy. I don't know how she was like.
He could not find her. And then that little walkthrough she did, she just walked through like she was looking for something. She was just like.
Did he put the cheese back after he reformed it? I think he did. Yeah,
he did. That's what the word. I was like, "What did you do that for, though?" Like,
did he reform it?
He reformed the brie. Yeah, he reformed the brie.
I felt like he slammed it down and he was like looking for her or something. I don't know.
It was
I was
nasty.
like, this is all wild.
I love,
but when he hit her like she was a fly. Because I feel like she was a fly. I feel like she was an animal, but like personified as a person. And so they gave an action to a person that a fly or like an animal would have, because he swatted her and then it stopped.
And then he laughed a little about it too.
Yeah,
they just
like he
cut
called
to him
her.
like leaving the store.
You leaving the store. I feel like she was a fly.
No,
I feel like
that's
she
a
was like a
good
bug
point.
he was trying to catch.
I never thought about that.
Yeah. Oh, I got something, y'all. Oh,
That's good.
Wouldn't that?
My
I mean,
brain
this
was
is a
working.
Japanese film, so wouldn't that be like almost kabuki in nature, where somebody's playing something outside of what they're supposed to be in the film? It feels like there's roots there. I don't know. I might be stretching, but I don't know. That's just me.
Oh, your Armstrong.
I did like this one scene where like she gets a makeover, and I don't know why it just cracked me up so hard, because like they're like she turns around, everyone's like, "Oh my god!" And then they look at her and she's in like full chef outfit,
but not like you expected her to be in the outfit they show a minute later,
right?
Which was her dream, or whatever.
Yeah, or something.
But I think she looks cute both ways, though. I was like, she looks like a professional chef, and in that one outfit, she was like, "How do I look?" He was like, "You look like somebody I can't talk to," and I was like, "She kind of does. She looks like a very like affluent woman who was like you'd be like intimidated by her." I mean, that's exactly what she looks like. It was like nice.
I wonder if anybody's made this ramen recipe. They go into it pretty deeply. They go into
the scallion sabo.
Right.
The scallion.
Now I know that is a tradition. There's a lot of traditionality within that bowl of ramen, but has anybody ever sat down and written down everything they talk about in this movie and tried to recreate this ramen bowl?
I've been wanting to make ramen for quite some time, because whenever I want ramen, it's rare. Excuse me, that they have. It's rare. It happens. I have specific places, but it's rare that they have chicken broth instead of pork-based broth. Because usually it's always pork-based, even if they put chicken and stuff in it. And so, like, I'm just like, I've wanted to learn how to like make some ramen. Maybe not the ramen from scratch. I'll just go to the Asian market. It's not that far from me and go get some ramen. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's some great dried ramen that you can get.
Yeah.
So
No, for sure. And I could just
ramen look really good. Like,
so I just wanted So I just wanted to like make my get some chicken broth and like make get a boiled egg. I just want to make my own.
So you got to do a soft boiled egg for sure. But then my wife has been adding some just My wife has been adding when I ever make ramen, she'll add just some chicken thighs done in a homemade teriyaki sauce.
I don't like dark meat, but I will. I know I'm that person.
But with teriyaki chicken. Sorry, like,
I don't know.
Like you,
if it
just feels
if it
like
got some, if it got some good seasoning, then I'll eat it. But I'm not a big fan of like dark meat. Like even in New York when we went to Koreatown and I got some amazing freaking ramen. Like it was just, I was tearing that up. I was so good. I ate bits and pieces of the chicken, but it was dark meat, so I just ate more like the noodles and the broth, pretty much. So but it was still delicious though.
I used to work at a ramen shop. It was called Agri Ramen, and like the ramen shops here, I can tell sometimes like this broth is like the instant ramen kind where they
or comes out of the container like the brown.
Yeah. Because the real broth, you're boiling that for like hours and hours, and like it's the bones, and it's like that's what makes it so like good.
She was cooking. That's what she was cutting up.
They showed the little fat bubbles on top, right? And those are, you can tell that broth's been dealing with that fat for a long time. You just pour it in out of a fucking container, and it's gonna just be a salty mess, and it's
depressing.
It is
very much so, because I didn't pay for this.
Right. Hell,
like in the
just
the whole
go get
beginning
yourself
part,
a rotisserie chicken and throw the bones in a pot for a while, and you're starting down the path of a better ramen than you're going to get out of a box or out of a package.
No, for sure, like 100%. But this I don't know. This film was wild in like maybe the best way that like a comedy can be wild. Mm-hmm. It just had so much, and then like I said, anthology feel, because it was just all these things, and then like the lady with the lady with the chauffeur and everything end up coming and eating in her restaurant with her dad. Like it was like a whole thing, like so it all kind of like came together. Like the boys came in, like it just all came. It was just like it was nice.
It like came together like a perfect bowl of ramen.
Right? No, you're not wrong. And it had a bunch of ingredients, a bunch of varied ingredients. Even.
Yes,
you're not wrong. So the vacuum cleaner. So my parents had a vacuum cleaner much like that when I was a kid. It was called a Rainbow vacuum cleaner, very famous brand from the 70s. Because they lasted forever. We had that vacuum cleaner for like 20 years. And it looked just like it. I believe that vacuum would actually suck that crap out of his throat, because modern vacuums would never.
That cracked me up. They were like, turn him around. He just lifted him up by his legs. I was like, what are you doing?
He's choking to death, but let's turn him upside down.
Like this poor man. It's like this poor, somebody save him, please.
There's a little detail on the vacuum that like I don't know if anyone picked up, and I don't know if it was on purpose, but they had like face it towards the camera and just see the symbol that says like for purpose uses or whatever. Like I thought it was the funniest thing. I was like, what the
fuck? Subtle.
That's solid. I like that. That's funny.
I did enjoy the scenes where she started to almost get it down pat. But she had to have them like drink everything, and watching her anticipation, the actress watching them drink, and she almost says something, and she almost does it again, and she keeps doing that, and then biting her hand, and then she sees them all magically, and then it just had all these great elements of, this is over the top, this is ridiculous, there should have been little halos over their head, for God's sakes. It would have been perfect. I think the only thing that was missing in this movie was having the 4 guys back from the original restaurant, where they threatened her and she had that dream about them coming in. Or no, he did fight those. No, he didn't fight those guys. I can't remember what's a dream and what's not. But
the main guy did. He did fight him one-on-one. Yeah. But he did come back. So I think I think he encompasses all of them. Because he was like, if I wasn't drunk, I would have told my guys.
But those were different guys. I'm talking about the grumpy, bald-headed guys that she insults. The very first ramen shop they go to, and they're like, this shit sucks. You guys don't know anything.
Oh, and her nightmare sequence.
Right.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen them show up somehow and been like, oh damn, and I don't know, some redemption there, but it does. It is a Western. There is no doubt about it. It is loaded with Western tropes. There are a ton of them throughout the film.
There is a movie called The Ramen Girl.
Yeah,
that stars Brittany Murphy,
and it also has.
And that film is loosely, they said that it's not based on this, but they took some elements from Tampopo and put it in that film.
So they did that. They did to Tampopo with Ramen Girl what the new movie did to Ikuru. I forgot what the Bill Nye movie is called.
Oh yeah, they remade that, right? Was it good?
I didn't watch it yet. I kind of thought it was a little heavy-handed for them to make a classic like that with just a white British guy, but you know, that's just me. And you know,
I mean, that's just American cinema. So I mean,
British too. Yeah, both are colonists.
Yeah.
You know, we're yeah.
But see,
You
the
know.
British would never dare to step foot in the realm of yoking. Like
lies. Sir.
Now, as far as gross, this movie's gross, but I still think that most of Monty Python is far grosser than anything this movie had to offer. The French fat guy scene from The Meaning of Life alone is more disgusting than this entire movie.
Monty Python is not my brand of comedy. I've never been able to get into.
So.
I've never been able to get. I've watched Monty Python like bits and pieces of it. I've just been sitting there like.
But if we were to, if it was like us in a room watching like the Holy Grail, like would you pretend to like it?
No, I physically couldn't do it. But I would watch it with you.
Sorry,
I would watch it. I would watch it with you guys. I'll probably be on my phone from time to time and like looking up and down. But like I would, but I wouldn't. I'm just like this is just not my brand.
Come on, the rabbit. I mean, come on.
The rabbit. Jesus Christ! Like,
bring out your dead. Bring out your
I don't
dead.
know.
Bring out the holy hand grenade.
Maybe I need to watch it again, and maybe I'm at a better age where I'm like, that's hilarious.
And your father smells of elderberries. Sorry, like there's
it just never hit for me. I was like, okay.
We are the knights who say neat.
Who say neat.
We are Monty Python people. So the two best ones, though, honestly, are Meaning of Life and something. No, actually, Holy Grail's a little overdone for me.
Really?
Meaning of Life and now for something completely different. I am a lumberjack and that's okay. I drink all night and fight all day. Anyway, you should watch that one. There's the dead parrot scene. You can just watch that one on YouTube. It's absolutely... This parrot is dead. It's phenomenal. You gotta...
I feel like you might be prepared now, Aldo, if you watch Tampopo. Like, you might be a little bit...
You might be.
I'm telling you, Tampopo has a very Monty Python-esque kind of gross, weird...
I don't know. I just feel like, again, I'm a stand for Asian cinema. I just feel like their brand of comedy it's subtle, but it hits in a way that I'm like, I like that. Now,
what's bizarre to me is this is the same production company that produced the same 3 Kurosawa films that we did on the show.
And
those films versus this film is like, what the? That's a weird 30-year gap. Like, there's something changed at that production company to just kind of say, let's make this now.
Some different hands, but also you bring in because what was it? The director, the lead actress is his wife.
Okay.
And he puts her in pretty much all of his films up until he died. I think he died at 97 or something like that. I think or something. But he puts her in all his films. So he kind of showcases her. So maybe and I believe he was a prominent director writer. So I feel like the production company was like, oh yeah, we could bank on him.
All right, makes sense.
Yeah.
I never. What else movies did he do?
Oh, okay. So there was one, The Tramps, right? That they had. Some of them I was like, what's with his eyes? Like, I didn't even understand what was going on with some of these characters. And then they take the kid and break into a restaurant and make a classic omelet over rice.
I love that scene so much.
Which is great. I mean, he does a good job. It's actually a little cooked. I was kind of surprised it was not raw enough to actually pour out over the rice, which was surprising to me. I watched those made a lot of times. I love watching them. I don't think I would ever eat it because I just can't handle eggs at that level. But they're still fascinating. But that scene, just I don't know, what was that?
That was the Chaplin, that was the whole Chaplin moment, wasn't it? With the kid. Was it the kid? Is that the movie? I don't know. It was very what is the word for it?
The tramp.
It's very Chaplin.
It's
Oh, yeah, you literally just said it.
Yeah. But it was just, I don't know. I guess it was that, but I didn't take it as that. I don't know. It's
Right.
There's a lot of homage being paid to older things in this film. Obviously, the Western. This is why I brought up Kabuki, because it feels like there might be an element of that in there. I don't know. This is a bizarre film, but I think it's a must. Like, now that I've seen it, if you don't fucking watch Tampopo, I don't know what you're doing. Like, you gotta put this movie on your watch list. Like, at the top 10. Like, make it a priority.
I've been contemplating putting it on my top 4 for my Letterboxd recently because I was like, this is everything.
Now, would you put it up with this poster, with the original poster in Japanese or in kanji, or would you put it up to where people could tell that it's Tampopo?
Oh, I'm Japanese all the way.
All the way. That's why I put this poster, because I'm like, this is the poster. This is the way it came out. And I always try to make sure these posters are the way that they were originally released. Minari, I couldn't do. It was this weird shape. It was like this, like, odd. I don't know why they do that sometimes, but
right.
I always thought there was
probably
a consistency. Yeah, there it is. I always thought there was a consistency to posters, but there's only a somewhat consistency to posters. Anything else about the film? I mean, other than we didn't really even go into the main story too much, but the idea that they help her rebuild this, but they don't. Nobody owes anybody at the end. Like, they build it, they put all their sweat and tears, money. She didn't pay for all that. She was broke. And why?
But
why
she did, though.
Well, some of it.
But she did, though, because remember, he said, "Listen, like, you're going to make 200, like, you making 200 yen bowls a day, like 200 bowls a day. This order like 40,000 like a month or something like that." He said, "By the year, you'll have $1 million. You'll be able to pay me back." So it's already like, I think it's already out there that like she's going to do this to pay him back.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We just never see the money exchange hands. Right. That's all.
Because we know she's successful. Like, we absolutely know this place is the best place in Japan.
For sure.
At the end of this movie.
For sure.
It made me want to eat it. It actually reminded me, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the documentary Jiro, Master of Sushi. It's about one of the most famous Japanese sushi restaurants, but it's at a train station. So it's this tiny little, very much like Tampopo, where it's like just a small little place, maybe 8 people can sit down. And Jiro sits down and will make you handmade sushi on whatever whim he feels that day. And you have to book months in advance. And I think he might have passed away at this point, but it's one of the most ridiculously meticulous sushi restaurants where you don't get to make sushi as an apprentice until you're 10 years in or something. Like, it's ridiculous. But it also made me want to eat there pretty bad. So I like sushi.
Well, that's what I love about just outside of American cuisine. I'm sorry, I don't really care for it too much. It's not the best, but the attention to detail in Asia and just the care for food, anything outside of American cuisine.
France doesn't the attention to detail is ridiculous, but there are some countries that put a lot of effort into it, and then there are some countries like America that are like burger and fries, and that's where we are. That's us, burger and fries.
That sounds just like us.
Meat and potatoes. Perfect. Genuinely, tell me what American food is. Pizza, burgers. Even though these are from other places, we've kind of taken them and adopted them. And if we do have some kind of a cultural cuisine here, we Americanize it. Taco Bell is a great example of Tex-Mex turned fully American.
Thank you, Taco Bell. I haven't eaten at your restaurant for 4 years now because every time, sorry.
Because you're already a regular person and you don't need to make yourself more regular. That was the nicest way I could put that. We are okay. So, anything else you guys want to say about Tampopo? There's not so much. It's not like Burning where we could sink our teeth into this movie. It's just great and fun and magical.
It's just fun,
right?
Yeah.
Bless you.
And Gesundheit.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you can't handle being grossed out by food, though, skip the there's 35 to 40 minute mark. You're gonna want to just skip that whole scene.
No, watch it all. Get it grossed.
I couldn't stop laughing during this.
Grossed. I love that. The yolk is what did it for me. I didn't mind the rest of the stuff. I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. I can handle it. But as soon as he put the yolk in his mouth, I knew what he was gonna do with it. I knew he was gonna start trading it with her. And they were just
swapping. I will say this. I love that they were able to keep the consistency of the yolk for that long before.
That's talent, man.
That is talent, man. I want to know how many times they went through it.
Why did she? Why?
That was
Because it was like it's like she orgasmed.
Right, I
It was
know.
like orgasm.
I know.
I was like, they got the nerve to make this. Oh my god!
Maybe it wasn't gross
I was
enough.
like-
Maybe they should have taken that scene to a whole other level, and they didn't. You know,
They could have. I was here for all of it. I was here for all the
I don't know.
grossness.
But also
All I know-
respect. It was a oneer. They didn't cut away. Like
That's
No,
true.
for sure. I was like, let's go.
I do have to say that Tyler did pick two somewhat disturbing films with a lot of nudity, which is fine.
Gotta look
I
into the
forgot.
mind of
But I didn't
Kai.
expect it.
I forgot there was so much nudity
in both of these movies. I'm just like, whoa,
It's-
whoa, nudity. And it's weird. It's not like we avoid nudity on the real study, but
Whoa,
you know,
nudity.
we don't
Whoa,
run out
nudity.
to watch it. I guess so.
That's hilarious.
It was not expected.
I love unexpected nudity. I'm a fan.
So flashers is what you're saying. You're like
Yes.
that lifestyle. You
Yeah.
understand it. You
I'm understanding. I might not be a part of it, but I dig it.
Is that what you tell them to? Like, I don't understand you, but you know, I see
Yeah.
what you're doing.
I respect
No, I see what you're doing.
where you're doing.
I see
with
what you're
your
doing,
life. Yeah.
and I respect your nudity. Get that dick out of here. You know what I'm saying?
So this has been
You
episode
guys
23.
Can you guys imagine me being on stage doing stand up? Yeah, this is part of what I do.
I'm actually turning a little red. Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's
not
my-
out of
that's my sweet
embarrassment.
spot.
That's just
No,
ridiculous.
out of
to think.
hilarity.
Out of
Of course,
hilarity.
it's not.
Out of hilarity, out of nudity.
Out of nudity.
No, exactly.
With some nudity. The real study is rated NC-17 for no nudity.
Yeah. Now, but once we make it, nudity comes when we get more famous. So.
NC-17 nudity comes 17.
Yeah. Oh wow.
We are
Oh,
out of
no.
ideas. We're gonna
We
rate
do
this
not
film.
condone that here over the city.
We're gonna rate this film and we're gonna move on since that is now in the universe
Okay.
forever. Tyler,
10.
Tampopo, 10.
10.
Lala,
Not even hesitating.
I give it a 9. I give it a 9.
9.
I give it a 9. Solid. Yeah.
It's a 10. I will be watching this again very soon.
Yeah.
Like,
I give it a 9.
I didn't expect to say that, but this is one of
Tyler
the greatest
just popped the
comedies.
yolk.
It's a, oh.
This is one of the greatest comedies ever written, and I don't know how I missed
got
it my whole
excited
life.
there.
Like it's weird.
Sorry, I'll do Junsu's face or whatever.
Yes. That's him excited, you guys.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Hello?
If I come on here with a yolk, you'll know how I'm feeling about the day.
If I hear an egg cracking, I'm turning off the screen. That's all I know. So, just okay. That said, next week we do have an all killer creepy doll
Horror.
special. We will be doing a Chucky film, the original Child's Play. We will be doing the original Annabelle film, which is not the original film, but whatever. We've already done The Conjuring on this show. And then we will also be covering Megan, which is the newest creepy doll movie on the market. We could have gone like Puppet Master and others, but
I want to see the dance.
we're
I
gonna.
haven't seen the dance. yet.
These ones all kind of
I haven't seen
compare.
it.
They're like our modern 3 creepy dolls, if you will. So yeah, catch us next week for that.
Yes.
More news, more guests, more real study to come.
Yep. Yeah.
You guys have a great night.
You guys
Yes.
follow us on all social media and our podcast everywhere: Spotify, Apple, Google.
And all the rest. Night, guys.
Keep it Minari.
Wow.